I was running for anywhere between 9 and 12 hours a day. You're basically fueling your body to get through this sort of a challenge. And if you're not fully fueling it correctly, you suffer really badly. I genuinely couldn't have done it without all of the support crew that I had. Started doubting myself and thinking, "What are you doing?
Yeah.
Why are you doing this?"
Ladies and gentlemen, may I have your attention? We'll be shortly starting the podcast, which has more viewers in the room right now than it ever will on YouTube, which is currently 0.
Sure. So I'm Robin Reynolds. I'm a runner, and I've just run across England, Scotland, and Wales in 5 days.
Cool. So it might seem like a bit of an obvious question, a bit of a basic question, but what inspired you to do it?
Well, I've been running about 15 years, and I've gone from 5Ks, 10Ks, half marathons, and sort of worked my way up. And this year I was 50 years old, and I wanted to do something different, and I wanted to get involved in an event whereby I was organising it, I was planning it, and I had all the input into it, not just signing up for a ticket and paying my 50, 100 quid.
Yeah.
And just turning up something that's pre-planned. I wanted to be able to organise it from end to end, and have the people around me supporting me that I wanted to be there. So that's sort of what drove me. And then I think combined with that, I thought if I'm going to do a big challenge like that, then why not do it and try and raise some money for some good causes that were so personal to me.
Cool. So let's talk a bit about that preparation. So in terms of setting up the actual challenge as such, rather than how you prepared yourself, how did you go about that, and how did you go about starting a charity event as such?
So I started it by maybe take a step back. So my job or day job is event organizer. So I'm lucky I've got those core skills to be able to do the planning and organize events. So I knew how to do that already. So it was really a case of working out where was it that I wanted to do the challenge, and then taking that and sort of planning the the route and planning the logistics of who was going to support me on the challenge, because you can't do it alone. And then how was I going to get from A to B, and put all of those sort of bits of the jigsaw together to put the fuller plan in place. And that took about 9 months to do, and it really started with where do I want to go, and then sitting down and poring over maps and talking to people and reaching out to like my running network to get their input on what was practical, and what I thought made sense that actually in reality didn't make sense, and reaching out to a lot of people who had done these big challenges and getting their advice. And it all sort of started with those emails of, dear Jacob, I'm interested in doing this. Can I get your help? Which I think everyone starts with, and lots of maybes and mights and could I and that sort of thing, because you're so lacking in confidence when you first start out, because you don't really know what you're doing.
Yeah.
And then that sort of builds as you start getting talking to the right people.
So did you say it was planned even down to like the route you were running on the days?
Yeah, absolutely. And that was really critical, because if you think I was running for anywhere between 9 and 12 hours a day, and I was having to navigate across countryside, through towns, through little villages. So I had to know exactly where I was going, and to do that, I'd sat down and looked on OS maps, looked at digital maps, and then I'd actually plotted out the route down to the sort of the square meter.
So that was something you were
So I
doing
knew,
yourself, rather than kind of the
yeah,
people that were with you telling you run down there.
yeah, absolutely. So I've got a Garmin running watch which I downloaded the route onto,
Yeah.
but that wasn't detailed enough to be able to give me the exact directions. It was pretty good, but I needed something more detailed. So I had a satellite GPS handheld unit that I took with me, so that I didn't get lost.
Did you ever get lost?
I did, yeah. A couple of times where I got lost, where Actually, I think the maps are pretty up to date, but there was one point I was running along, and where I thought I was going had been turned into an Aldi supermarket.
Great.
And I spent 20 minutes sort of running around the edge of the car park and through a housing estate to try and find my support team who were on the far side. Yeah, another time when I was actually almost at the highest point in the Wales, and it was pretty remote, and I dropped the satellite signal. And I had no idea where I was going. And I went completely the wrong way for about 20 minutes before the satellite signal came back up, and I knew I'd gone wrong.
Yeah. Does that affect you? Kind of, I don't know how to exactly word this, but say you were planning to run for 9 hours and you've got that extra half an hour added on. Is that kind of oh no, like a toll on yourself, or is it just you just got to do it?
I mean, I think it's all down to. I think there's some really mentally challenging things about doing a challenge like this.
Yeah.
And you have to just find your ways of picking yourself up from difficult situations. About halfway across Hadrian's Wall on my first day, it was really hot. You may remember a few weeks ago we had that really hot spell of weather, and it was like high 20s, early 30s.
Yeah.
And even on Hadrian's Wall, it was up at sort of 26, 27. And I had a 5 mile hike, which was pretty much all uphill, where I got to a point where I just thought, what are you doing? Why are you doing this? And I had to sit down and just have a bit of a word with myself and just say, right, come on, you got this. Just think about the next mile. Don't worry about what else you've got to do. You just got to think about the next mile and get through that piece. You can't. I think if you try and think about the enormity of what you're doing, you can't keep going. So you have to break it down into sections. Take it in
steps, day by day.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's the same like with anything. If you break it down, you can achieve a lot more than you can if you try and do everything in one go. Because your brain can't process it, especially when you're tired and you're lost or overheating or whatever it might be.
Yeah. So let's take it right back to leading up to the challenge. Obviously, training takes months. When did you kind of start training? Because I know you mentioned you run anyway, but when did you start training for this as a specific challenge?
So I started about 9 months out. So last autumn.
Yeah.
I had pretty good base level of fitness. I've done a lot of ultra marathons, and for anyone who doesn't know what an ultra marathon is, it's any distance over 26 miles or 26.2 miles. So marathon is 26.2. If you ran 27 miles, that would be considered an ultra. But the reality is it goes up to, several hundred miles. People can do 5-day ultra marathons. So I had a pretty good base level of fitness back in the autumn. And I built on that between the autumn and when I did the challenge three and a half weeks ago. And to do that, I had a pretty strict training schedule of 6 days a week. And I built in sort of checkpoints along the way so I could see how it's getting on, see what my fitness was like. So one of those was the Manchester Marathon. And I ran that back in end of April. And then I went to Finland in May, and I did a 2-day ultra marathon in Finland, just to test my fitness and see if I was at the stage that I needed to be. So there's those sort of checkpoints along the way to make sure you're where you need to be, and that you're if you're fit, if your training schedule is working properly.
Yeah, looking back at them at the 2 marathons, do you think were you at that point you needed to be at, and do you think they were useful sort of checkpoints in your training, or would you have done it slightly differently?
I think I probably would have done it slightly. I would have trained harder, particularly on things like elevation. So going up to the Peak District and Lake District to do training around running up hills and that side.
Is that just the running up the hill, or I don't know if the oxygen changes? I've heard people running on mountains.
Not at the height that I was at, but I think it's more about just getting your body used to having to hiking for a couple of miles, and then starting to run again, and then maybe come to another hill, and it's just that change in terrain that you've got to get used to, and it's the adjustment of your balance, and running on quite technical terrain you need to practice that a lot more. And if I'm honest, I think I went into the challenge probably quite naively, thinking, well, I probably didn't think about it as much as I should have done, put it that way. And if I'd gone into it now knowing what I do, having completed it, I probably would have adjusted my training a little bit. But I did it. The body's an amazing thing, and how it adapts is pretty incredible. I think I probably would have adjusted my training if I was to do it again.
Yeah. How does your diet look like when you're doing all of this training? I assume you're having to eat quite specific food, a lot of protein, etc.
If I was to give you the honest answer, yes, you should do. The reality is, yeah, you should do. The reality is my diet's probably not as good as it should be. But I think anyone would say to you, everything in moderation. Try and eat as clean as you possibly can.
Yeah.
You should be cutting alcohol out of your diet to help yourself. And when you're getting closer to race day, hydration is key. Just making sure you're fully hydrated and carb loaded before your race. So all the usual things. I think I'm not as strict as I should have been, put it that way.
That's how much you want to sacrifice, isn't it?
So, well, yeah, and I think that's one of the things that I probably would have focused on my training, is more around the diet and nutrition side, as well as the training, because it's so important to get that right. You're basically fueling your body to get through this sort of a challenge. And if you're not fully fueling it correctly, you suffer really badly.
Yeah. What are you kind of eating during the actual challenge? Because I assume you're not stopping for a meal as such, or?
Well, you'd be surprised. I mean, I think a lot of people called ultra marathons call them, still walking picnics or running picnics, mainly because you are fueling yourself the whole time, because you're out there, 8, 9, 10, plus hours.
Yeah.
And whereas on something like a marathon, you'd be taking energy gels and and that side of things. After a while, your body just can't. Your stomach just starts saying, "Enough! I can't deal with that." So I was having a mixture of. I had some gels with me. I had some, like Cliff Block energy chews, that sort of thing. But I had a lot of solid food. So cheese and pickle sandwiches, salt and vinegar crisps. They were great because you can crunch those down and just pour it straight out of the packet. You're getting the salt as well as some food with it. Little Baby Bells, those are great because they're easy to carry around. Saurine bars, anything which will give you that boost of energy, and actually you start craving solid food after a while to give you that energy and keep you going.
Does it make you feel sick at all, or just anything like
that?
Do.
Yeah, it can do. If you don't get the balance right, you can get sick from dehydration. You can get sick from from taking the wrong things in your stomach, just not being able to digest it. So you have to be conscious of what you're eating, and how you're fueling yourself.
So again, while you're out there, what was the support like from family, friends? I know you mentioned training partners, coach, perhaps.
Yeah, so amazing. I genuinely couldn't have done it without all of the support crew that I had. So basically, the way that I structured it is I had a support crew for Hadrian's Wall, so running across England, and then I had a separate support crew for Scotland and a separate one for Wales. And they would meet me every between 7 and 10 miles. So I'd run on my own up until that point. Then they'd meet me. I'd get more nutrition from them. So whatever I wanted to eat, that I'd either eat it there or I'd pick it up so I could run and take it with me. They'd refill my water bottles, give me electrolytes, and basically they were just there to make sure that I had everything that I needed. If I needed to change of socks, or if I had a blister developing, they'd help with that, and just on hand to be able to just keep me in the best possible shape that I could be. And they're amazing. I get to the checkpoints, and they'd be there, chair would be set up, all the food would be ready. Literally, I'd sit down, they'd take my jacket off, they'd refill the water. And it was a bit like sort of a human F1 pit stop. But I had to be really strict about the amount of time, because I knew if I waited too long, then it can add hours onto your running time. If you stop for half an hour every time and you're doing that, 5 or 6 times, that's a lot of extra time. So I was really strict about getting there, sit down, no more than 15 minutes to get turned around, fueled, refill the water bottles, and then off again.
Yeah, I assume you start seizing up as well. Your muscles start getting cold.
Yeah, that's the thing. And you're sitting in a chair. Exactly, you sit in a chair for too long, and then you're stiff, and trying to get going again is painful, and it's you just have to keep on going.
Yeah.
So the support crew were amazing. And then I was really lucky in Wales when I got there, that I had 4 people who came around with me. So I had 2 people who ran the first 2 stages, and then I had another person who ran stage 3, and then one of my old uni friends came and met me for the final stage and ran into Aberystwyth with me. And I really, without them there keeping me going on day 5, having been running for 4 days already, I decided that I was going to run Wales in 1 day. Whereas I'd done England and Scotland in 2 days each. For Wales, I thought, let's do it in 1 day. And I hadn't quite appreciated that I was running over the highest point in Mid Wales. So to do that and have the elevation without the support, I don't think I would have done it.
Yeah. How long were you running for on that final day?
About 13 hours. Yes.
Yeah.
So, and the highest point was about 800 meters above sea level, which I had to get up to. So that probably was the toughest bit of the challenge, because that was the one time in Wales where I didn't have anyone with me. The weather was bad. It was up to a really high point. It was quite technical, the trail. And that was the one time that I actually sort of started doubting myself and thinking, what are you doing? Why are you doing this? And starting to sort of slightly doubt my life choices and thinking, this wasn't that sensible.
But then you've gone all that way, got so far.
And then I thought, well, what am I going to do? I'm at the top of a mountain. There's no one around. I've got to get off this mountain. I've got to get to the top, get off this mountain, stay safe. And I know the support crew's down in the valley below. I've just got to focus on getting there and doing it safely.
Yeah. How's the support been from outside the support crew? Family, friends, people donating?
Yeah, so amazing, absolutely amazing. And actually, you were asking a minute ago about how you sort of get yourself through. And I think when I was at those times when I was thinking, I'm not sure I can keep on going with this, I'd pull my phone out and I'd look at the messages that I was getting from friends, from family, from complete strangers on Instagram, from people on Just Giving who had donated, and that kept me going. You read a few of those and you're like, I've just got to keep on doing this. You've got all the support, you've got all the, all that sort of positive energy coming through, and I could see the total going up, and I've raised close to £5,000 so far, for 2 incredible charities. So Cancer Research and Mind are the 2 charities that I've been running for. And just seeing that total going up, having the positive messages, knowing that people are actually watching the little dot on the screen, because I had a GPS tracker on me so people could see where I was. That's enough to give you that real boost to keep going.
Yeah. So what's next for you? Is there going to be another challenge? Or are you done? Retired?
Not done and retired. There's always something else left. I've spent a lot of time over the last few months with training and out for 4, 5, 6 hours at a time.
Yeah.
So bit of time with the family. Need to make sure I'm spending some quality time with them because they've given up a lot while I've been training.
Yeah.
So yeah, a bit of downtime with them. Got big stuff going on as a family anyway. Coming up with universities and all that sort of stuff. For my kids. So that's the focus for the time being. And then going on from there, look, who knows? I'm sure there'll be another challenge. I know some of my support crew are keen for me to do something in Europe, and maybe take something on there. I'd like to focus on setting up something that I can do myself. So setting up some ultra races locally that other people can get involved in, because it's such a great community, the running community. It'd be great to be able to support some other people with running some races themselves and helping them, sort of achieve some of the things that they want to do. It doesn't have to be an ultra marathon. It could be, be a 5K, but nice to be able to give something back.
Where can people see what you're doing, keep up to date with everything if they wanted to?
Yeah, so I'm pretty active on Instagram. So my Instagram is Robin_PB Run Coaching. So yeah, you can follow what I'm doing there. That's where I tend to post the most. You can message me if you've got any questions, or if you just want to know a bit more about the challenge or how to kick off your running career, then always happy to help and chat with people.
There we go. Amazing. I think that concludes.
Well, it's great. Thanks, Jacob.
There you go. Thank you very much for coming on.
No worries.
Cheers.